Hey, what's up guys? So this is the continuation of me talking about getting my tire fixed. Check that out. I did not do this. My buddy Spider, of course, was like, why don't you just go get it patched? And for whatever reason, patching it never even crossed my mind. Like, I'm not stuck out anywhere, I'm not in an emergency situation, I don't have to plug it myself. I am going to take my plug kit on my little road trip or whatever, but yeah, a tire or a dealer service shop area will patch a tire for you from the inside out. That way you don't have to worry about pushing in a plug from the outside in. It's a recommended, more manufacturer supported method of patching a tire. So unfortunately I do not have a video to show you guys me plugging my tire, but I will update you on the status of this puppy and how it performs or even survives with this plug. But since I got all this crap off, I was doing a brake inspection because I might as well, right? So brake inspection includes inspection of the pads for thickness. The minimum thickness for this pad is 5 millimeters. So I'm sorry, the recommended factory thickness for this is 5 millimeters, and the minimum is 1 millimeter on both front and rear. And an easy way to measure that is with the caliper. If you don't have a caliper, you can just use a ruler or whatever measuring device you can get a hold of. Caliper will squeeze down, boop, or zeroize it. It will measure outwards like so, like that. I don't know how to describe that. So what you do is you will measure from the actual pad to the back of the plate that it sits on. This material does not count for the thickness of the pad. So you take your caliper. I like to use this little notch here. Line it up. I'm at 0. Take the caliper out. Boop. Thickness of my pad is 4.15 millimeters, give or take. It's a Harbor Freight special. Super handy, not very expensive. And this is my second pad. As pads work in pairs, they squeeze together. And boop. This one's about 3.9. You can do it on the other side as well. 3.93-ish, 94. Very easily adjusted with my thumb. So they're within specs. I'm good to go on my pads. Pick this back up, and you can use the same tool on your actual brake disc rotor itself. Some of these, don't make me a liar. Where are you? Oh, does it have one? Yeah. Okay. So some of these actually have the minimum service limit for their manufacturer. So the minimum service limit for this is 5.5 millimeters. If it was at 5.5 millimeters, it's about time to get it changed. You can go a little beyond that per the owner's manual, but very highly not recommended. I do not have a tool to measure for warp, so I'm at about 5.96. And you don't have to make this thing like super tight. You just check other areas, maximum surface area. 5.92. So I'm wearing pretty evenly. 5.93. So this rotor seems to be pretty good. It does not feel warped, but I do not have the actual tool to check for warping. But you can usually feel warping if you have a kind of, not cracky, a pulsating sensation when you stop, and only when you're stopping, not if you're going under acceleration. If you're going under acceleration and your brake's not dragging, of course, and you feel any kind of wobbly or this guy's can over there, it is most likely your chain, because I had that issue with my chain before. I did a chain replacement video, and it was a pain in the butt, so I did not video, good God, man, myself taking the pads off. I should have done that. But this here pin secures the pads onto the caliper, and this other pin, cotter pin, goes in that pin to keep it from backing out of its holster. So it doesn't look like it, but I've already cleaned this, and I pushed the caliper, the piston for the rear brake in quite a bit. I took the cap off of my brake reservoir, and you can push these in by hand, or you can use a C-clamp. I have one, but you don't need to. It's recommended to push them in by hand. If you push them in by hand, you can actually see the brake fluid coming up. I'm pushing it in. Don't make me a liar. Yeah. So I'm now taking the pressure off of the piston. It is almost flush with the lip of the caliper itself, which is making it a lot easier for me to slide this brake pad back into its spring tray. The notches line up right up under there, and I'm good to go. All I gotta do is put this one back in. Now this one has a really weird mount, so you put it on this post, you flip it, and then you slide it back this way. There's a notch here that you do not want to catch. You gotta get it on the GoPro, a little better angle. Probably not. That little guy. Camera inside a camera. Inception. Okay, so what you do is you nestle this baby right back in there, nice and neat. Slide the pin back in after you've cleaned it. You can lube it if you want. I'm out of my knees. These pins are always a pain in the patakas. There we go. So I had to push the brake pad down a little bit for the hole to line up, and then you take your cotter pin, like so. We did it. We just installed some brake pads. And that's all you gotta do. So I'm gonna tighten this baby back up. Line this up. See, this gives me a lot of room where I don't have to try to force the pads on the rotor. I can just boom, and I'm good. So I have illustrated the need for the owner's manual in some of my other videos because this is what I was taught by a competent friend. So I decided I should pass that message on to you if you decide to watch my videos and learn anything from them. So I have the specs for this. I'm going to tighten them down. I'm going to move to the front, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, guys. Catch you in like 0.2 seconds. Alright, y'all, now we're in the front. So I already did the right side of the bike just for time saving purposes. This one also has the same indicator. It's not on that rotor. I did check both rotors. The rotor is at about 5.6 millimeter, well within spec, but this one also has a minimum minimum thickness indicator. It's not on the right side, it's only on the left side rotor. These little notches I forgot to illustrate before for the wheel rotation sensor, this little guy. It helps with the ABS system. So if you ever replace your rotors and your bike has ABS, make sure you get the rotor specifically for your bike that should fit and meet manufacturer specs if you want your ABS to work properly and not give you any false reads. So guess what these are? These are the pins that secure the brake pads onto the caliper, and guess what they got? Torque specs. Crazy, right? Is this on Lucy? Yeah. So they're much easier to take off the bike or take off the caliper while it's still mounted to its bracket, just because you're trying to twist this thing, and if this is loose or removed already, you gotta hold it and twist it, and it's a pain in the butt. So people are like, oh, you're so worried about torque specs, but you're riding on a patch tire. Yes, it is a choice. I don't have experience with it, so I'm going to get experience with it so I can be able to educate people on how my patch tire experience went. These are 11 foot-pounds? What is this? Something Newton meters. 15 Newton meters to secure onto the bike or onto the caliper itself, and these are 25 foot-pounds for this bike. Very important to know your own bike specs. So in taking off the other caliper, I was pretty upset. My front brake pads are pretty loose. I mean, not loose, pretty thin. Here they are compared to the EBC brakes that I'm now about to put on this bike. And of course, they need to be changed in sets. So now that I'm going to change the front, which I've already changed the right side to the EBC brakes, I'm going to go back, pop the rear off. It's going to take me 5 minutes to get them done. Here is the rear set, brand new in the package. The front brakes were still in spec, but they got about 1 millimeter left to go. And since I'm already in here doing this, out here doing this, I said screw it. I'm going to go ahead and change the whole thing. That way I'm good to go for the next couple thousand miles. And they're supposed to be factory spec, meaning they won't hurt your disc brake rotor any more than the factory brakes would, but they are supposed to provide superior stopping power. They are sponsored by a lot of, or they do sponsor a lot of MotoGP, Moto America races. EBC is a very well-known brand. I've changed my last couple bikes to EBC brakes, and I haven't had any issues. Rotors were never destroyed. They're not too hard. They are double H centered, which is some good stuff to stop a 1000cc sport bike with a 200-pound dude on it. I'll say they're not bad. So I'm gonna tidy this up, and the next fade will be me showing you how to bleed these babies. I don't need to, but screw it. I'm out here. I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay, that was a very short intermission because I forgot to say that the front brake caliper on this baby. So I got the pins out. Look at them. That is, oh, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it looks thin compared to a lot of sport bikes, but these pads actually come very thin. I mean, they're not super thick, as you saw in the other clip. 4 separate pistons. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to push them all in individually, and they can be a pain. And you should absolutely do this only with the other brake caliper mounted and secured in the brake levers pulled in enough so that the pads actually make contact with the rotor and can stop it. Because I've done this, I have both calipers off, pumping my brakes, trying to get this thing, pushing it on this side, getting this side secure, and all I hear is ting, ting, ting. One of my freaking pistons popped out and rolled on a previous bike, and I had to come to terms that I just made a dumb mistake. So make sure your brakes are seated on one side, do one side only. You don't have to worry about this in the rear. Pull the brake lever in, let the pads make contact with the rotor on the side that you're not working on, and then proceed to the side that you are working on and be able to remove the caliper, the pads, and push the pistons in. Now, on to the bleeding. I'm back. Look at me, I'm like a ninja. Like, I move so fast. Get it? Like a ninja. Whatever. So, Super Dot 4, this is just Dot 4 brake fluid. They call it Super for some reason. This is the prescribed brake fluid for this bike, and this is a prescribed procedure per the actual maintenance owner's manual or service manual. So what you do, same procedure will be used on the front. Also learned that my bike has a third bleed valve, one right on the master cylinder, right at the brake lever. So just like I was learning about my guy's Ducati, my bike has a third bleeder valve. One on the master cylinder, one on the right hand caliper, one on the left hand caliper, and of course one on the rear brake. So what you do is you pump the brake, initiate pressure, cannot move the tire, and you hold that pressure. You open the valve while still holding the pressure, allowing the fluid to flow out, keep the brake depressed, close the valve, lift the brake. What you don't want to do is remove pressure while the valve is open, because it will create a suction action that could quite possibly introduce air into the brake line and just, I mean, it's the same procedure, but it'll make this go a lot longer. I've done it, it sucks. And you want to keep an eye on the brake fluid, because as you pump through this cylinder, the rear master cylinder, it's going to take all that brake fluid, pump it out. It's going to take the brake fluid, pump it out here, down through there, into the caliper, through this hose, boop, 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 and it's going to take it out. And you can also introduce air from up here. So you want to get it down fairly low, put in your new brake fluid, it will mix with the old. It will be, should be noticeably clearer, brighter if you're using a different type of brake fluid. Sometimes it's the exact same color and you're going to have to kind of eyeball it. You can see this is a little dark. It starts off dark. It's almost this color because I did this a little while ago, but I'm just doing it again because I feel like it. New brakes. Feel like I should go ahead and change the brake fluid, and I'm going to do the exact same procedure for the front, a much bigger brake reservoir. I'm going to do the same thing. It's getting a little dark. So your brakes compression coefficient goes down due to sunlight and age. That's why a lot of people have koozies up there. Some people just have them because they're cool, and some people actually use them to prevent the UV rays from sunlight from actually deteriorating their brake fluid. So that is a thing. I'm not making it up. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And I will see you in the front. Okay, front brake. So, by far, one of the hardest things about this whole process is getting this freaking hose over this bleed valve nipple. Sucks. So, the hose you can get from pretty much anywhere. I'm actually using fish tank hose, airline hose from a fish tank that I got. but as you depress the handle, the lever, it's going to sink hard. Boom, boom, and then you release. Boom, boom, and then you release. Do not release pressure before you tighten that bleed valve back up. And these, of course, have torque values as well. And this is not air coming out of my bleed valve. It's closed. It's just bubbles from the tube being empty further down. And I'm going to do this for a second, and I'm going to move to the front left. So we are now in the front. This is the wrong wrench. The front requires a 10 millimeter. So I'm going to use the opposite hand. Squeeze brake pressure on the lever. Loosen the bleed valve nut. Let the fluid flow out. Good to go. Repeat the same process over here. You do want to make sure your controls are even, and you want to cover up your plastics with some rags or towels or anything, because brake fluid is very, very bad on plastic. I already cleaned up my little area, so it doesn't show it now, but I had rags and stuff right there, or this beam towel. And release, tighten, pump, pump, pump. This one's a little bit harder to coordinate because I've switched hands, but same process, guys. And the brake fluid is coming out pretty clean. And this is getting very tiring on the hands. So I'm gonna finish this up, but that is just how easy it is. It is a very tedious process. It's time consuming, but it's easy. It's very easy to do. It's one of those things that if you feel like starting maintenance on your bike, between the oil change and the brake fluid change, this is probably one of them I would start on. As you can see there, rear brake fluid is changed. Starting to look just like the front brake fluid is noticeably lighter because it's all brand new. This is, I poured some of the new in with the old, but eventually it's going to look just like that, and I'm going to be happy. Give her a bath and we'll be good to go. So brake change inspection, riding on a plug tire, and brake fluid bleeding done. Thanks for watching.